Cody Carpentier was on our show last week. He texted me. He said he asked that question. Maybe there was more than one question about Coleman, but
okay.
He's like, I asked Bean about Coleman. We just heard the answer, and I don't know. It started in such a way, not to get too literal, because I often do this. When he starts with same as last year, is, couldn't ask for more.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't ask for more than what he was last year before you got to the regular season. Like, he was so dedicated. I don't know, like maybe, but I think they do want to probably ask for more on some level from Coleman. Maybe that's just like the day to day of the regular season, showing up on time.
You're right. I think that's what he got to there.
It is.
Right? Like we need the other piece to work, because, showing up in great shape and being ready for OTAs and even training camp was all positive. But once you started, not being on time for stuff and started getting benched, then the whole thing kind of different. Doesn't matter how good a shape you're in. We don't trust you to put you on the field because you can't be a good teammate and show up on time. Then it doesn't matter how good a shape you're in. So obviously that step has to happen for everyone. I think mostly, like, be in shape, be ready. But without the other piece, I don't know if the great shape doesn't mean anything. Like, you're gonna need more. And they absolutely, to me, I can defend them keeping him here, despite how, late January and February sounded. Really, it was the owner making that one comment. Everyone else has defended him. And that might all just be words you say before you trade the guy for a day 3 pick because you're sick of it, which still could happen to me. I mean, we're in the part of the season where the Raiders are talking about we're in the business of collecting great players, so Max Crosby's not going anywhere. I go, okay. I talk to him all the time. He's in the building every day working out. And okay.
He's never been happier.
Maybe that's true, or maybe you're just absolutely trying to get, extract, which you should do. Extract every single bit of a return you can get if you trade Max Crosby. The Bills could be doing a smaller, way smaller scale version of the same thing. Just trying to protect an asset's value by talking about him in some degree of a positive light. Although he does still point out that there were issues last year. So maybe they're just earnest. They're going to try it on. Again, I started out saying I can defend it as long as you put good ideas in front of him. If he beats out your draft pick or draft picks or someone that you go out and trade for or even sign in free agency, if that's the route you go, just make sure you've got a boundary X that is, more than Josh Palmer on your team when, the real action starts. And then if Coleman can earn your trust and his talent shines through and you can find a spot for him and he can still help you, fine. I'm not, I'm not so offended by him not showing up on time. I want him to stop doing that so that the team can trust him. But it's not like so egregious to me. It's not like he's, doing something, really offensive.
As far as we know.
Right.
We don't even know that other players who are better than Keon Coleman all make meetings on time.
Right.
But that's sports if they don't. I mean, we need you. So Coleman is young, as Bean himself was in a big hurry last year to remind us of constantly how young people forget. No one forgot. People forget how young Coleman is. Well, when you have a player like that, and you have such a good team too, the math is probably we can really be strict here with this player. We can afford it, and we think we have a chance of winning big if we kind of, if you will, straighten him out. But, on a team, it's a luxury to be able to do that. On a team that, like Bills teams of the last 20 years before Josh Allen rode in, Stevie Johnson, for me, I mean, he was really good. But that was a big one where he just sort of embarrassed the Bills, talking about how he throws the workout plan in the garbage. And I was like, I'd cut him. And I said that because the Bills were bad. And what do you need somebody for when you're bad? So I'm a new coach. one of my star players is bragging about not doing the work. I don't need that. I can't have that. I'm trying to set, McDermott, it was always culture, right? Like that was a big word for him. And everybody would tell you, if you had to write a paper for school today, 500 words short on Sean McDermott, culture's that's mentioned.
It might be the lead paragraph.
It might be the first thing you'd say. Like on a team that was so bad for so long, he did that. And, fine. I think usually talent comes first, but they got lucky in 2017. Then they got lucky with Allen. And then I think mostly there's your culture. But that's no disrespect to McDermott. I mean, I think he cared about what he tried to do, and I'm sure he was mostly successful in that. What was the point? I think the point is the Bills had the, if you will, the luxury of, you know what, Keon, you're benched. And a bad team doesn't have that luxury, or they end up looking bad for doing it. And the Bills didn't. Did anybody criticize the Bills for how they handled Coleman? No, they criticized Coleman.
Right.
They bought the story, which maybe was right too. I'm not saying different. But you buy the Bills story, and sure, this is what should happen. You're late for meetings, you don't play. What happens if you don't play? Well, I don't get those 2 catches. Somebody else does. What's the difference? They won tons of games again. What does it look like week 1?
I hope he's inactive if he's here, I think is how I would say it, because I've redone my receiver room to such an extent that I have a better, more proven, trustworthy version of him on my team. I'm not saying 6'3" and whatever his measurables are, but somebody's in his spot that he occupied to start last season. And, the rest of it is filled out enough that you go, yeah, he's a duplicate, right? So I think he's got to earn his way back onto the field. And now maybe he does that in the summer. I don't know. But for me, sitting here right now, I want them to be strong enough at the position that they don't even have to dress him if they don't want to. That's what I think is called for at the position.
Well, Elam, a first-round pick, Coleman technically was not. Second round, first pick. It's close. How far apart, by the way, in picks are Elam and Coleman? 8, if that. But they got to that point with Kyer Elam where, all right, you're not going to play. And that might not have been discipline. Sal always talked about
it was really performance.
Dutiful he was.
Yeah.
Right. So they gave up on trying to establish that the draft capital was at all worth it. They just, no, we can't. And that's kind of what you're describing. If they come over the top of Coleman in free agency or the draft or both, and then he's just squeezed out, maybe he's released if that happens. Because if he's inactive, then he becomes who went in when somebody like Hardman or somebody, or even Shavers. He becomes somebody that just goes in if you have an injury. And you're not winning the draft bet anymore. That's dead. So you might just want to be done with it and not have to answer questions about him. I think as long as he's on the roster but not playing, there are going to be questions about him.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills might prefer just not to have to bother if they think it's hopeless.
So yeah, I just don't. Basically, I'm saying a lot of different things. It really, the point is, I just don't want them to count on him. If they want to try to rehabilitate the relationship with him, which I don't know how rocky it is. I mean, the owner said what he said, and here we are. It's is it a month later already or whatever? Doesn't matter.
Ish.
They want to put some time in and not give up on him. I respect that, but you better not just end up in a position where it's May and you're bragging to me about how great he looks again, because that was last year all over again, and it ended up burning him. They really couldn't count on him. So I think he's earned enough skepticism that you better do enough at the position. There's room between counting on him and inactive on game day. He could be the last guy active. and that guy doesn't have to play a lot. That could be a guy that you bring into the game who only gets on the field when the other guy is tired or the other guy gets hurt in the game. And that's fine too. I just don't want him snap one, 3-receiver set, Keon Coleman's on the field.
Mm-hmm.
That should not happen. I don't think there's almost nothing to me he can do between now and September that would earn him that. Because it sounds like he did everything right the way Bean is talking, and he's not going after timelines, but he is saying the offseason was really good. He put the work in. You could tell he'd been working out before he even got here, and the summer went well, and then immaturity crept in, and that sounds like when the season began.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot of ground he can make up for me, and I want the team to be hard like this too. Between now and September, no. I'm going to put people in front of you. Yeah. If you hop over them, hat tip to you.
Yesterday we were talking about, of course, the overtime winning goal in the Olympics and where it ranks generally, like great sports moments. And it was games that you went to. Neither Bulldog nor I was at the game, sadly, in Italy on Sunday. I thought about it, but I stayed home.